Hello and welcome. My name is Brian Kaplan. I'm editor of the Banca. I'm here with Carlo Messina, the chief executive of Intesa Sanpaolo. So Carlo, I mean, you've just made these acquisitions of these two Veneto banks. What is that going to do for Intesa Sanpaolo?
First of all, I have to tell you that making this acquisition, we reduced in a significant way the systemic risk within the country, but also within Europe, because in my view, these two banks...
Because these two banks obviously had big problems.
Yes, that's right, because if you have to consider that they used to have 10 billion euros of guarantees from the government, so there could be an implication of 10 billion euros of public debt in case of bankruptcy of these two banks, and also the possibility of having impact on 50 billion euros of wealth of Italian people. So in my view, we made a transaction that had contributed to reduce the systemic risk and the cost of equity of the Italian banking sector and of Intesa Sanpaolo.
Now, obviously, you've only taken the good loans, yes, but how can you be sure that those good loans are indeed good loans?
That's a good question. We have the opportunity to give back 4 billion euros of what could be called high-risk loans. And then you have to consider that ECB made in the last 2 years a lot of inspection in this bank. So I think that at the end, having a reserve of 4 billion euros of high-risk loans that we can give back, there could be high probability that we will have a very good portfolio of loans remaining to Intesa Sanpaolo.
Okay, now there has been some criticism of the deal because it doesn't go along with the new European rules on bailing in the senior bondholders. Do you think that's going to create some sort of moral hazard in the future?
So I think that I'm not an expert of European law, but I have to tell you that I'm used to rely on the formal position of the authority. And the formal position of the European Commission is transaction is okay. The formal position is ECB is transaction is okay. So for the best of my knowledge, transaction is respecting the rules. So then you can elaborate on possible substantial implication, but at the end, what I consider really important is to achieve results in the interest of Europe. And that's by definition what we made with this transaction.
Okay. Now, obviously, at Intesa, you've been working to get your own non-performing loans down. So where have you got to with that? What percentage have you got to now? We
made a very good job in the last 21 months because we reduced by 10 billion euros the amount of non-performing loans at zero cost for shareholders. So we decided not to make disposal in order to give 20% yield to private equity funds, but we decided to create our private equity company.
And do it in-house?
Yes, that's right, in-house. And so using the coverage and the collateral and the experience of people, reinforcing people, incentive schemes in order to increase the recovery rate. And we were able to reduce by 10 billion euros, so this means reducing by 3% the amount, the ratio non-performing loans.
So what does that bring the ratio to now?
Today we are at 13%, but we moved from 17% gross, but net, that is reality, because risk is net, not gross. So we moved from 10% until 7.5%, and considering the loans coming from the Veneto Bank, we are today at 7%. Our target is to go to pre-crisis level. They used to be 6%.
Okay. And how far on now do you think the Italian banking system as a whole is in terms of getting over its problems and getting itself back onto a more even footing?
So it is clear that in Italy, solving Veneto Banca and Monte Paschi di Siena, we are in a very good position compared with other countries. There could be some minor impact deriving from very limited amount of banks that can be involved in some problematic situation, but we are talking about negligible situation. So I think that at the end, what could be really the point of attention could be the strategy on non-performing loans, because a number of banks are making disposal on non-performing loans, and in my view they have to invest more on capability to recover money and to use the possibility to increase the recovery rate and not to give money to private equity funds.
Okay. Now, the other interesting thing about the Italian situation is that you do have a different method of classifying them. So some of the figures we've heard have been very high, but I think that's because the Italian banking system is counting loans that are just 1 day overdue.
Yeah, that's a very important point, because there is no harmonization on this point within Europe. So we have a very conservative approach within the country. And also another point is talking about gross amount. In reality, the risk is related to the net amount, and net amount then is also guaranteed by collateral and real estate collateral, that is the main part of collateral of the non-performing loans in Italy. And you have to consider that the practices in Italy was to have more or less 50% loan to value, and also that we had no bubble in real estate market. So if we have some years in order to recover, in my view, the situation could be much better than today.
And finally, do you think there's going to be any further consolidation in the Italian banking market?
I think that in Italian banking market we need to have more consolidation. So there are possibility for Popolare to have some mergers. So I think that in the future, in the last 1 or 2 years, we will have some other merger in Italy.
Okay, and will you be a player in that?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, Carlo, thank you very much.
Thank you.